Have you ever sat alone staring at your phone screen as it lights up and goes dark again, waiting for a message from her? But it never comes. The only thing that answers you is silence. Silence so sharp it feels like an invisible slap against your pride. And worse than rejection itself is the realization that you were never even considered a real choice. Modern men live in a world of illusions where every emoji, every sweet text on social media is nothing more than smoke. You think you're different, but in her eyes, you're just another notification, another name flashing and disappearing in the endless flood of unread messages. And here's the cruel irony: the more you try, the nicer you become, the more attention you pour into her, the cheaper you look. You become free, disposable, background noise. Here's the truth that cuts like glass: she didn't abandon you. Because in reality, you never had enough weight to be kept in the first place. And this is where I want you to face the very first truth. The one no good guy ever wants to hear: why she never misses you at all. Let's start with a bitter truth. A woman will never miss a man who is always available. The more predictable you are, the easier you are to grasp, the more you become invisible, just background noise in her mind. The human brain, through the lens of evolutionary psychology, is wired to crave scarcity, surprise, contrast. We ignore what's common, we crave what's rare. And when you're always there, when you show up every time she calls, when you're free, whenever she's bored, in her perception you stop being a man and turn into a utility, like the TV remote that's always on the coffee table. Think about it. When you write those long texts, when you rack your brain trying to be interesting, or when you fake being busy but still secretly shake inside waiting for her reply, what she feels isn't your words, it's your desperation. Women may never study Freud or Nietzsche, but instinctively they can smell weakness. They don't hear your sweet message. They feel the absence of strength. I know society has fed you a poisonous lie that the nicer you are, the more patient, the more you sacrifice, the more love will eventually come. That's not the truth. That's manipulation. In reality, what most good guys are doing is trading away their self-respect for crumbs of attention. And women don't value it. They despise it. Here's the pain you must face. She doesn't miss you, not because you're unworthy, but because you've given her no reason for your absence to matter. You carry no weight. You don't create emptiness. Your presence is like air, necessary but invisible. And when a man becomes air, women will breathe him in without ever noticing he exists. So what must you do? The first step is not to make her miss you, but to stop begging to be missed. Cut the supply. Withdraw. Not with childish drama, not with a public block/unfriend tantrum. Withdraw your energy. She won't remember a message, but she will feel the lack of the energy that once surrounded her. And here's the catch: when you withdraw, you must rebuild yourself in silence. Because if your disappearance is just you, sulking at home, refreshing her Instagram, then you haven't disappeared. You've just gone invisible in despair. Real attraction comes when you fill that empty space with a richer life, a stronger body, higher quality friends, experiences that shape you. When your energy shifts, your absence becomes a mystery. And women, they are obsessed with mystery. Let me be blunt today. She doesn't miss you because you haven't created enough weight to be missed, but that very fact is your opportunity. From the moment you stop being background, stop begging, and begin building a denser, fuller life, she or any woman will have no choice but to notice. Your silence will no longer be empty. It will echo. But that's only the beginning. Because the next question is the one that really matters: what truly makes a woman crave beyond your absence? You see, absence is only the first cut. It's the initial strike that slices through the fog of her indifference. But one cut isn't enough. What makes a woman truly crave isn't just the empty space you leave. It's the emotional energy you carry when you're present. And this is where most men fail, because they believe women miss them for their personality, their looks, or their sweet gestures. No. What women subconsciously crave is the emotional state you ignite inside them. Remember this: people don't get addicted to other people. They get addicted to the emotions those people make them feel. A man who makes a woman feel excited, uncertain, curious, alive. He will own her mind far more than the polite, nice guy who is kind but dull. This is the brutal truth. Most men refuse to accept. The safer and easier you make yourself, the faster you vanish from memory. But the one who brings chaos, surprise, and challenge, he becomes unforgettable. Psychologists call this the intermittent reinforcement effect. When rewards are inconsistent, the brain pumps out more dopamine. That's why people get addicted to gambling, to social media, because they never know what's coming next. Women are no different. If every time you show up you're the same predictable guy, texting goodnight, asking, "Have you eaten yet?" you've turned yourself into a vending machine. But if your energy shifts, sometimes calm, sometimes sharp, sometimes full of fire, it's the unpredictability itself that keeps you on her mind, even when you're not there. And here's the uncomfortable truth: women don't seek men to feel safe. They seek men to feel alive. That safety they talk about only comes after they've been pulled in by aliveness. You can be steady, grounded, but if you lack challenge, wildness, and surprise, you're not a man in her eyes. You're a couch, comfortable, soft, but never the thing she dreams about at night. So what's the key? It's when you master your own emotional state. A man who bends to every reaction of a woman, smiling when she's happy, shrinking when she's cold, will never hold her desire. But the man who stands firm generates his own energy and pulls her into his rhythm. That's the man who drives women crazy. Let me tell you a story. I had a friend once, an ordinary guy, not tall, not handsome, not rich, but women clung to him like he was fire in the night. Why? Because he never gave them the sense that he needed them to exist. He was happy alone, willing to walk away mid-conversation if he wasn't entertained, and always did what he wanted, naturally, without pretending. Women couldn't control him, and that lack of control was intoxicating. This is the lesson: you cannot become a prop in her script. You must become the author of your own. When you create a life and atmosphere that feels like an adventure to step into, you stop being an option. You become an experience. And experiences are unforgettable. I know many men resist this truth because it shatters everything they've been told, that love is born from sacrifice, from pleasing, from putting her first. But the reality is that very unconditional giving kills attraction. Women don't miss you because you gave too much. They miss you because you triggered feelings they can't manufacture on their own. So, if you want to be craved, you must learn to control the emotional frequency you broadcast. Don't try to make her happy. Don't try to avoid making her sad. Be yourself, but the raw, unapologetic, uncompromising version. When you do this, your absence no longer feels like a gap. It feels like a drug. And now we reach the next step. If unpredictability and raw emotion are what pull women in, then why has modern society stripped men of all of it? Have you ever wondered why so many men today have become invisible good guys? It's not because they were born weak. It's not because of genetics. It's because modern society has been designed to soften, tame, and neutralize the primal instincts of men. Look around. From childhood, boys are told, don't make trouble, don't be too strong, don't be too direct, be polite, be nice, make everyone happy. Schools reward obedience, not resistance. Culture praises the kind man, yet in reality, women give their attention, desire, and intimacy to the reckless, the wild, the self-centered risk-taker. Here lies the paradox. Society teaches men one path, but instinct and real-world attraction reward the exact opposite. And in the era of social media, this game has turned brutal. Women receive massive doses of dopamine daily from dozens, sometimes hundreds of men likes comments, heart emojis, long paragraphs in their inbox. A good guy thinks his thoughtful text makes him stand out, but in reality, he's just another face in the crowd. Society has turned men into energy dispensers while women sit at the center of unlimited attention. The result: the value of male attention has dropped to nearly zero. This isn't women's fault, it's the structure. A consumerist culture that turned attention into currency and trained men to become emotional consumers. Men were taught that love must be purchased with sweetness, compliance, self-sacrifice. But here's the truth: when a man buries his rawness, his strength, his wild edges, he buries the very things women desire. Remember, Freud people are driven far more by unconscious urges than rational thought. A woman might say she wants a gentle, caring partner, but in her unconscious, she is still drawn to danger, strength, and independence. When society cages men into domesticated rabbits, they lose the very aura that keeps women awake at night. And here's the tragedy: most men believe their failures in love mean they're not good enough. So they double down, read more self-help, learn new texting tricks, practice being even nicer. But the harder they try, the further they drift from their essence. The result: the better they become, the more invisible they are. Ask yourself, when you're the one sending polite goodnight texts every evening, while another man is dragging her out of bed at 3 a.m. just to drive 200 miles to watch the sunrise, which one will burn into her memory? That's living proof that society has been teaching you the wrong game. It's time to wake up. You can't keep blaming shallow women or a corrupt era. The problem is this: you allowed society to steal your manhood. You traded away your sharpness, your pride, your primal edge for the label of good guy. And the price you paid was invisibility. Socrates once said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." If you've never examined yourself, never asked, why do I settle? Why am I afraid of being disliked? Why do I always chase approval? Then you are still living as a shadow, and women don't remember shadows. So the question now is, how do you break out of this machine? How do you rebuild your core and rise again as a man with undeniable weight? So what's the answer? How do you escape the trap society set? The trap that turned men into invisible good guys living only to please, existing only as shadows. The answer doesn't lie in women. It doesn't lie in making her desire you, miss you, or choose you. The answer lies in rebuilding yourself from the inside out, from the core. This journey begins with solitude, and I don't mean the lonely kind where you stare at your screen desperate for someone to notice you. I mean solitude as a ritual, the kind where you face yourself without distraction, without running. Because only in silence can you hear the buried voice within the primal masculine drive to build, to conquer, to unleash. In that solitude, you start forging discipline, not the cheap motivational quote discipline you find online. I mean sweat, pain, blood discipline. Your body must grow stronger, not to flaunt muscles, but to prove you can endure pain and move through it. Your mind must grow sharper, not to win arguments, but to examine, to analyze, to master your own reactions. A man who trains himself in this way radiates presence without saying a word. When he walks into a room, the air shifts. When he sits in silence, that silence feels heavy, unshakable. He doesn't chase respect because his very existence commands it. This is what modern men forget. Value isn't given because you demand it. Value emerges when you become it. Picture this. Instead of wasting hours checking if she viewed your story, you spend those hours mastering a new skill, running extra miles, expanding a circle of high-quality friends. Instead of texting good night, hoping she'll smile, you sleep deeply in peace, because you know tomorrow you have challenges waiting to be conquered. Live like this, and you no longer appear as a shadow. You become a force. Here's the reality: women never walk away from a man with existential weight. He is the kind of man whose absence leaves a void. A man who builds his own career, who shapes his own body, who sharpens his own mind. He doesn't need women to define him. And paradoxically, that independence is exactly what makes women crave him. But remember, the ultimate goal isn't to make women miss you. If you rebuild yourself only to get her back, you're still trapped. The goal is this: to become the man you yourself respect. When you reach that point, attraction is no longer an act. It's a byproduct. You don't try to be magnetic. You are magnetic. And to hold on to this, you must choose the hard road. The road of waking up to train instead of sleeping in. The road of telling the raw truth instead of selling the easy lie. The road of standing alone in pride instead of hiding in the herd. Yes, it's lonely. Yes, it's painful. But it's the only path to rebuild manhood. Remember Nietzsche? He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. What's your why? If your why is just to be loved, you'll forever be controlled. But if your why is to become the highest version of yourself, then no one, not even women, can strip that power away. And when you reach this stage, everything changes. Whether she remembers you or not, whether she wants to come back or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you've found yourself again. And when a man finds his own essence, the world cannot forget him. Listen, if you've stayed with me until this moment, there's probably a burning feeling inside you right now. Pain, but clarity. The pain of realizing that for years, you've lived as a shadow, pouring out your attention, your energy, yet never building the foundation of true manhood within yourself. But it's exactly this pain that becomes the turning point. Because only when you hit the bottom can you finally rise to the top. You no longer need to ask, how do I make her miss me? The real question is, how do I never again forget my own primal essence as a man? Because once you rebuild from the inside, once you live with discipline, with presence, with pride that cannot be negotiated, whether she remembers you or not, the world will. And understand this, you are not alone. Every man watching this has stumbled, been ignored, lived through the silent despair of being the good guy. But if even one man wakes up and passes this fire on to another step by step, we restore the image of real men in a world that's trying to tame them. So if these words lit something inside you, don't keep it for yourself. Share this, not as a fan clicking a button for fun. Share it as a brother in arms sending out the call, so another man somewhere out there on the edge of collapse can also wake up. And if you want to go further, subscribe, not to worship me, but to remind yourself every single day you must take another step on the path of rebuilding manhood. Don't seek approval. Don't seek comfort. Seek truth, and truth will set you free.